Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at the Wednesday race of the day. It is race 8 at Tampa Bay Downs. This an optional claiming event, non-winners of two other than the allowance condition, going 1 mile on the turf course in Oldsmar, Florida. But this being the race of the day, do note you can get free past performances for this race. Just head on over to the race of the day page on DRF.com and you can get free all access PPs, classic, formulator, time form US to handicap along with Mike and I. Mike, 10 runners signed on here, and no surprise that a Chad Brown runner who entered in this race is likely to be among the shorter prices of those. The number 6 McCullough has just been in really good form lately, ever since switching over to the turf, and appears to fit really well against this field.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, he's 5 years old now. He hasn't done that much racing, but when he's on the track, especially on the grass, he's been pretty good. I liked his return from the layoff last time, David. A race we're going to take a look at in a little bit.
And McCullough is a horse that does like to launch from towards the back of the pack, and he does project to get some pace to close into us. We'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race, and it does feel like there are at least three horses that want to be vying for the front end, Mike. I kind of agree with this pace projector. The number 2, Read On, clearly does his best running when he is alone in front. Legitimize, also a horse that wants to be forward. And then Fiddle Like Coyote from the outside, kind of the post position draw dictates that they've got to be aggressive with him.
Yeah, the horse is on the outside. He's got a lot of speed, and maybe just being drawn out there sort of forces his rider to get aggressive. But you're right, the two other horses that the pace projector have up there, they're both fast. Read On's been in really good form, and it's come when he's used his speed.
The number 6 McCullough you could see shown towards the back of the pack on the pace projector. Do note that the number 3 Just a Photo gets the LP flag, indicating he has the highest time form US late pace rating in this field. Let's go through these runners from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Oishi, a horse that is coming off a victory on the dirt. That was a scheduled turf race that was rained off the grass, and he was able to get the victory that day against a field that was certainly weaker than the one he's meeting here. And Mike, he is a better turf horse than a dirt horse, so I would expect him to do better than that last beat figure. And when you go back through his 3-year-old form, he kept some pretty good company racing at Colonial, and even going back to when he was running in Florida towards the beginning of his 3-year-old season, he held his own against some decent horses. And I will say, this barn doesn't win at a high rate, but they're having a pretty strong meet currently at Tampa Bay Downs, a $3.33 ROI at the current Tampa stand.
Yeah, I would say that that's the main takeaway I had too. You're not betting this horse off of the win in the off the turf race last time. Not only was it slow, but it was a race that just set up great for him. They really contested the pace in front of him, and he just kind of took advantage in the late stages there. But he's better on the other surfaces, and he gets the surface switch here, and he's going to be a huge price in here.
The number 2, Read On, is a horse that certainly has earned some speed figures that might make him the horse to beat in this race, particularly that 95 by or 2 back when he beat Claiming Foes decisively on the all-weather surface at Gulfstream Park. Kind of an unbelievably strong performance for this horse. First off, the trainer switched to Jorge Delgado. Mike, they switched him back to the turf last time, and he ran just fine, but wasn't quite as successful. I think it brings up the big question mark for this horse. Is he quite as good on the turf as he is on synthetic?
Yeah, that was my concern too. I mean, obviously, I'm concerned about that pace projector we looked at earlier, but I am also just concerned about this surface. You mentioned the big figure when he won a much cheaper race 2 starts back. He even had a really fast race on the all weather just a few starts prior to that. When he gets loose on the lead, he's really, really dangerous. He was sort of forced along, I thought, on a solid pace last time. The problem, David, is the horse that was forcing him was Card Trick, who won the race, and Reed I just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, you point out something I think it's really important with him. When he gets to the front end, he's tough to pass, but when he doesn't get forward alone by himself, he sometimes is a total no-show.
Yeah.
So we'll see what kind of trip he works out. The number 3 is Just a Photo. Our colleague Dave Gretting did a race advance on this race, focusing on Just a Photo, who reportedly went to the sidelines with a splint bone injury following his career best performance when we last saw him in June of 2024. Never like to see a horse go to the sidelines following a career best race, Mike, but he's had a solid series of workouts coming back for this, and he did get really good last year after they gelded him.
Yeah, he was in great form. Unfortunately for him, his campaign was really cut short because he was in really good form last year. I just felt like he came back a much better horse as a 4-year-old last year. I didn't really necessarily want to take him off the layoff here, David. I do think he's meeting a pretty good field in this race, and it's not like he's going to be a huge price, but he's dangerous if he's ready.
Yeah, and that last big number was on synthetic. He ran really well three back on the turf with a tough trip. He probably should have won that race after getting caught in traffic in the stretch. The number four, Incheon, is a horse who tried out a different running style last time, went to the front end. The pace was not quick at all. They actually slowed it down to go the half in 49 and 2, and he was just swallowed up at the end by the closers, including today's rival McCullough. Maybe that was just not a running style that worked for him, Mike. I go back to his race two back, and he ran a little better that day. And while he hopped up at the start, I did think he got a really good trip after that.
I agree. I really wanted to give him maybe a little more credit for the race two starts back. If I was going to do that, David, I would just say he sort of wound up when he came clear in the stretch. He sort of wound up between horses, and it maybe looked like he was a little intimidated, but I'm not really sure about that. I wanted to see him run a lot better than he did last time. He's just going to have to find a way to take a pretty big forward step in here. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do it.
When you start to go back through the form of the number five, A Western Yarn, there are things to like. He's run really well over this Tampa Bay Downs turf course in the past. He's had a lot of success going this 1 mile distance on the turf. He's got a nice, versatile running style that should allow him to be in position to get first run on the closers, but he's not one that's going to be involved in that three-way duel for the front end. I just wonder if he's still as good as he once was, Mike. He was kind of a horse that showed ability as a 3-year-old, never really progressed from there. They had to drop him into a lower level claiming race three back where he did change hands, and he's run just fine in his last two starts for the new barn. But watching those races, it's not like either one really made me want to bet him here.
We have the same take on this horse. I do think he can win this race for sure. I know he won off the claim two starts back and he sort of moved back in the right direction. I kind of wanted to like that performance a little more than I ultimately liked it. He ran fine last time. And maybe this is just a better spot for him, David, but I don't know. I didn't like him enough. Another horse who's probably going to take some money in here, and I just wouldn't want any kind of even shortish price on him.
Mike, I'm always reticent to just default to these Chad Brown horses at Tampa Bay Downs, where it seems like he takes so much money. He has a lot of success here. The bettors are well aware of it. And McCullough just feels like the kind of horse that's going to suck in a lot of play because he's in good form. He's just coming in with a series of speed figures that make him a little faster than this group. He's supposed to get the right kind of pace set up. All of the positives for him are just really obvious. But you go back and watch his races, and he has run really well over all four of his turf starts. He's just taken his game to a new level since switching to the surface.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I really liked the two wins in New York last year before they tried him at the end of the season in October. And he got wired in a race that it was never coming back from. This is his first start off the layoff here last time. Listen, can you argue that maybe he should have won this race? I don't know. I guess you could. I still thought he ran really well, sort of getting bounced around there between horses when you watch the head on. It was a little tight for him. He still had a shot to win. Still thought he ran really well in there. I think his good race, I think it just might be too good for these horses.
Yeah, and the winner of that last race, Time Out, is a horse that was trying turf for the first time, who had a ton of pedigree to handle the turf, had shown ability on the dirt. So that horse might actually be pretty good on the turf looking ahead. And McCullough was right there on the line with him. The number 7 is Legitimize, a horse who does own a couple of victories on this surface. Broke his maiden at Saratoga last summer, though I didn't think that was the toughest maiden special weight event that we've seen during the summertime at Saratoga. And then got back to the winner's circle two back at Tampa Bay Downs, going this distance. They tried a mile and a half last time with the synthetic. He clearly wants no part of going that far. So I think cutting back works for him. Just feel like he's going to have to run a little faster.
Yeah, don't care about his last race. He's very lightly raced. I guess there's a chance that maybe he takes a little bit of a step forward here. I did wonder what kind of trip he could pull, David. And then when he won, listen, two back, he was off a little bit of a layoff there. He was, kind of saved by the wire in that race. I mean, they did sort of push him on the pace a little bit. So I don't want to be too hard on him, but one more jump in there and he's beat.
The number 8 is Kansas Cat, who's actually running one condition above that which he's eligible for. He's not yet won the N1X condition, and here he's running for the N2X condition. So Connection's getting a little ambitious with a horse who has been huge prices in his last couple of starts since coming to the United States. And Mike, he saved a lot of ground last time, but never really had the clearest path through the stretch. I still feel like he's going to have to run a lot better against this field, though.
He's going to have to really improve again. He certainly did improve from start one to start number 2 here in the United States. And I'm with you on his race last time. I'm not convinced it cost him that much, but man, that leader was keeping it a little tight on him through the stretch there as he was looking up the rail. You have that cutout there for the chute, deep stretch at Tampa. And once he got room there, I did think that he actually ran on and he just sort of got beat there. I don't know. I don't love him in here. I can see him running a little bit of a better race though.
The number 9 is McAvoy, who kind of has a similar look to McCullough, going out for Mark Cassidy, another barn that wins a lot of races at Tampa Bay Downs. And this horse, made a big stride forward when they stretched him all the way out to the 10 furlongs at Woodbine last summer, ran a good 83 buyer that day, and continued that momentum progression when they cut him back to a mile in those last couple of starts. I did think he got good setups in both of those races, Mike, and watching them back, we'll take a look at the replay of the last race. The entire field is kind of coming together towards the end. You can see they're all spread across the track here, and he's going to make that last run to get to the wire first. But I just didn't necessarily feel like there's a whole lot more progression with him watching these last two replays.
Yeah, I didn't really like this horse that much. I wonder how much money he takes in here too, David. I mean, the 6-1 morning line seems okay to me. I feel like he could come down shorter than that. And then I would really be against this horse. He's fine here. As you mentioned, everybody's got a shot at this race. The leader's totally stopped in here. And he was the one who got it done. The race 2 starts back. The one that was the mile on the inner there, which a 2-turn mile, he got a perfect trip in that race. And the winner just came and ran right over the top of him.
Yeah, and unlike his main rival McCullough, who has a race underneath his belt, this one is coming back off a layoff. The number 10 is Fiddle Like Coyote, one of those horses who could be involved in the early pace, kind of has to be if they're going to save any ground from this outside post position. Mike, they got pretty ambitious with this horse last year, just running him in a series of stakes races. They went to New York. Being a New York bred, that made some sense and caught some tough company in those races, and he was just badly overmatched in a few races against Spirit of St. Louis, Cugino, and Running B, 2, 3, and 4 back. He got class relief on the dirt last time. I don't know what I'm supposed to make of that race, but he was tenacious in victory.
Yeah, that's his calling card anyway. When he's involved, he's a pretty tough horse to pass. He's really game. This is just a way better spot for him. The pace, I guess, is obviously the real question because he does seem like a horse who wants to be forward. But I think he can go with these horses, David. He ran some I thought anyway, ran some really good races on the turf last year. I'm a fan of this horse, and I think he's competitive with these guys with this kind of competition.
Let's throw up our picks for this Wednesday race of the day. And Mike, I think we're going to land in the same place. I tried long and hard to find an alternative to the number 6 McCullough. I thought really hard about putting the number 3 Just a Photo on top. Just hard to take any kind of short price on a horse coming off that kind of layoff who had a setback. The long shot I want to use in there is the number 1 Oishi, but he doesn't really feel like a win candidate to me. So I just kind of copped out with the favorite.
I did too. The longer I looked at it, the more I just felt like McCullough just might be too good for these horses. And I'm not going to have a bunch of money in against him. The other horse for me was the 10, Fiddle Like Coyote. He's going to need a trip though.
6-10-5-8 for Mike and 6-3-1-9 for me in the DRF Wednesday race of the day. Good luck if you're playing the races later this week.